It is day 2 of the 2021 Toronto FC offseason, and the house cleaning has continued. After yesterday, on Monday, following the loss in the Canadian Championship final, GM Ali Curtis was let go. Today it was announced that head coach Javier Perez will not be returning for the 2022 season. This is honestly completely expected. I don't think anyone really thought when Perez was hired, or promoted, I guess, to the head coach role following the firing of Chris Armas, that unless he was absolutely incredible and somehow took this team to the playoffs, I don't think anyone thought that he was going to become the head coach for 2022 going forward. And unfortunately for Perez, that seems to be exactly what has occurred, as following a disappointing MLS season, which he made slightly better but couldn't fully turn around, and a loss in the Canadian Championship final, Perez has been let go. Now, this is by all accounts the right move for Toronto FC. I was saying that they need to bring in a guy who's a name, like a name coach, not some guy who's only ever been an assistant. They need to bring in a guy who has a reputation in football, a guy who has been a successful head coach at the professional level before, because they're just in a rut right now where they need a guy to come in and stable the ship. They don't need another former assistant coach that they're giving them their first ever head coaching job, because this is a problem that I think is big enough that you need a name to fix. And because of that, I feel nothing but bad for Javier Perez, because he wasn't bad. He had twice the win rate as Chris Armas, at about 27%. He was dealing with a TFC team that was even more injured than the team that Chris Armas was dealing with. And whenever any of his young players started performing well, like Akinola or Ralph Prizo, they'd inevitably get injured as well. So Perez was stuck dealing with basically a very much weakened TFC roster on top of a TFC roster that was already in a rut when he came into the job. So I feel bad for Perez that he's not really getting a chance to be a proper first team manager for Toronto FC, and I hope that in the future, wherever he ends up, he is going to get that chance to be a manager somewhere, because I think he has potential to be a solid one, but with Toronto FC, right now wasn't the time, and kind of with the amount of turnover and what this team's looking to build and change going forward, it's not the time to give Perez a shot to see what he can do in a full season, because this is a team that needs to come out and make an impact right off the get-go next season. And I think it's more than time for someone new. It's the perfect time to give someone new the job, as opposed to letting Javier Perez have a shot and being nice. So, replacements. Back to this talk which we were having when Vanny resigned at the end of last season. There is one giant name in Major League Soccer that I think is the frontrunner for this job, and it is Bob Bradley. Michael Bradley's father, the former head coach of the US national team, the former coach of New York Red Bulls, and the most recently former coach of LAFC. Bradley is a guy who's been coaching in Major League Soccer or in other leagues. He actually had a brief stint in the Premier League as well, but he's been coaching in and around US soccer since the beginning of Major League Soccer. He is one of the biggest names in MLS coaching, and one of the biggest American names in football coaching in general. And now he is attached to no team and has the lure of being able to come and coach his son and potentially have his son finish his career the way his son started it, with him as the head coach. And that's just a nice little bit of circularity that, you know, has a great ability to haul people into jobs, even if it's really not the best move for them. The other key thing is the firing of Ali Curtis means that a new coach coming into TFC would likely be given, or could likely be given, the Greg Vanny role, where they also have some control over player acquisition. And that's a role that you would imagine Bob Bradley wouldn't come to this team without. So the fact that Ali Curtis is gone and that it's not just the coaching role up for grabs, but a coaching role as well as a bit of a management role up for grabs for the coach, you have the feeling that that is much more enticing to Bob Bradley if he were to want to come coach Toronto FC. The only other name I can think of right now in the Toronto FC management sweepstakes, or only real major name, is Forge FC coach Bobby Smirniotis. This guy in the CPL has been excellent for the past 3 seasons. And I know last season when Greg Vanney left, I was saying I wanted to see Bobby Smirniotis get the shot. And now he's coming off of a season where he's gotten Forge FC into the CONCACAF Champions League, getting them into the semifinals of the CONCACAF League, and has Forge fighting for a 3rd straight CPL championship with them playing Pacific in the finals in 2 weekends. When it comes to Canadian CPL coaches, Bobby has proved to be the best of the best, and if any CPL coach deserves a chance to coach a Major League Soccer team, Bobby's the one. However, with the Forge being in the Champions League next season, that's sort of the thing that Bobby Smirniotis' team has been building towards for the past 3 years, and he has just been a key part of building that Forge team. And so I really don't see him wanting to leave right before they are entering the Champions League campaign, which is kind of the cherry on top of everything that they've built. One other interesting thing in here I'm going to throw in for laughs is also departing their club today in Toronto, Jimmy Brennan, the former TFC man. He's been told that he's not going to be re-signed at York United, and so that makes him a wild card. For the love of God, Toronto FC, do not hire Jimmy Brennan. That is probably the worst case scenario hiring for TFC. And if that does happen, it's pretty much a sign that Bill Manning has to go if he's not gone yet. Brennan was a bit of a disappointment all of his 3 years at York, as York wanted to come in and be a contender through the league. And the first year, they were 3rd in the overall table, but Forge and Cavalry ran away on the hunt for the finals. In the 2nd season, they missed out on the Final 4 at the Island Games, which coming into that year, they were really predicted to make. And then this season, they did sneak into a playoff spot. But again, the level between the top 3 CPL teams in Forge, Cavalry, and Pacific, and then the drop down to the middle teams was just so great that even though they were in the playoffs, no one really would say that they were on the same caliber as those big 3 in the CPL this season. And so 3 years of getting results that I think were very clearly lower than what ownership wanted at York, Jimmy Brennan is available. Please, TFC, do not. Because that is the type of stupid move that I think we've been accustomed to TFC making, especially in this past season. So hopefully that's not the case. My money is on Bob Bradley. I think that is the guy. I think Bob Bradley checks off all the boxes for the coach that I think should come in. He's the experienced guy. He's the name. He's the guy that you know has experience, the guy that you know knows what it takes to win in MLS, and the guy that I think should be brought in to provide the jolt required to get this team back up and running. So that is it for this video. As always, if you like to hit like, if you want to see more of my stuff, hit subscribe. Let me know down below in the comments who you think should be the next head coach of Toronto FC. Follow me on Twitter, link is down below in the description, and I will see you next time.